For customers running Softone on Windows Azure, the Softone Azure console provides administrators a tool to manage the company's backups, check on database size, and to control access to the application. Access control is implemented in three ways. One, the certification of an individual computer, such as a laptop of a salesperson, that may be using various IP addresses on the internet. Through implementing a range of addresses which are allowed to have access. It can be limited to a single IP address, or it could be an entire range. And all of these can be added and eliminated at any time, and the rules can be activated or deactivated at any time. Of course, the administrator password is required. In addition to these two methods of a computer-specific access code and IP addresses, it's possible to issue support personnel from a systems integrator or other company a temporary access code, which can be valid for an hour, 30 minutes, 3 hours, and will automatically lapse. This code is then issued to the support person and will enable them to have access for a period, in this particular case, of 1 hour. At that point it lapses and they no longer have access. Here within database storage, we actually have, the administrator has a view of the database, the number of records in each table, the size of it, and the total size of the database in kilobytes. In this case we're looking at around about 74 megabytes of data. On the right hand side here we can see the backups that are currently stored in blob storage on Windows Azure. You have the administrator has the option to create a backup, to download and upload backups, and selecting an individual backup, this can be restored, deleted, downloaded, etc. View last log gives a log of the last restore operation in this instance, and really clearly shows that it was successful. Upload DB data and download DB data provide the administrator the ability to upload a database from a local installation of Softone to an Azure installation, and vice versa. And that's a very quick summary of the capabilities of the Softone Azure console. Softone, to manage the services that it provides on Windows Azure, uses the Windows Azure Management Console, which provides a generic overview of what's happening on the systems, as we can see here through the dashboard, CPU utilization, data in and out, etc. And it also gives us the ability to do some configuration in terms of VMs and so forth, and to configure blob storage, table storage, and all the other services that are available on Windows Azure. Softone, however, has also developed its own control room, which gives us a much finer grained insight into and control of the application services. On this, the main screen of the Softone Azure control room, we have a graph here which indicates over time the logged on and active users. The green line is the active users, and the red line indicating the number of logged on users. In fact, at this point in time, you can see here on the status bar that we have 110 users logged on, of which 43 are active, 39%. We've had a total of 667 logins over the last few hours. This number perhaps needs a little bit of explanation in the sense that one needs to be aware that the Softone client will automatically disconnect when the application user is inactive and reconnect again when there is activity. The central portion of the control room form here shows us the VMs. It gives us a brief overview of load on each VM. As we can see here, we have a 9% peak CPU utilization over the last minute and a mean CPU utilization of 8% over the last minute. The application server on this particular VM is using 185 megabytes of memory. There are 31 users connected and working on the system. There have been 112 connections and 80 reconnections. We can also see more detail on this over the last few hours. We can see CPU utilization, data in, data out, the number of requests, the average number of milliseconds taken to handle those requests. And we can and do produce a number of statistics which give us an indication of how well the systems are performing and where there's a need for additional instances, or whether we can make do with fewer instances, and so forth. It allows us to manage the system quite finely. We can also see detail on a particular application server. We can also see the detail on a particular application server at an individual client level. Here we have a PC code which is a way of anonymously identifying an individual client. We also have the installation to which that client is connecting to, the time of their last activity, the total number of requests that they've made against the application server. This may be select queries, insert updates, etc. The number of transactions is indicated here. The mean time for each transaction, the number of bytes sent and received from that client, and the last request, whether it was a query, an update, a report, etc. We have the ability to also monitor, should the need arise for troubleshooting purposes, to monitor what SQL is actually being issued from that client. And this takes a little bit of time. Obviously the client needs to be issuing requests at that point in time, as they've just done now. And we can see here all the SQL that's being issued without actually seeing the data. But this allows us, having a copy of this, to do troubleshooting, performance enhancements, etc., etc. And because Softone is so customizable, this allows us also to support and assist customers in enhancing their own customizations, their own custom developments, and to improve the performance of those. On the right here, we have a table that indicates all the currently logged on users by installation, and we can sort them as to whether they're active or not. The ones that show a check mark are currently active, as opposed to just being logged into the system. The control room also allows us here to upload new versions for the services. And we can run multiple versions there. We can dedicate specific sets of applications, sets of VMs to specific versions. And from here we can, as you can see, we can allocate specific application servers to a specific customer. Also, from the control room, we can request an application server to restart if we, for example, see that excessive memory is being consumed. We can instruct the VM to fetch the latest software version from storage and run the new application server, the new version. And we can, in fact, reboot the entire VM. On a particular application server, we can actually log on to the console, and we can view on that console all the activity of that application server. It tells us exactly what's been happening on the system, the connections from clients, time taken for transactions, for reports, etc. And this very clearly allows us, for example, here we have a report that took 61 seconds to run. And this allows us to look at where there's potential for performance improvement. We have here, as an example, a long-running transactions. We classify all transactions that are over 5 seconds long as long-running transactions, and they warrant a closer look to see what can be done to improve performance. In some cases, obviously, it's simply a very large transaction and there's not much that can be done with it. But this allows us to see exactly what's going on the application server. And these logs are saved to blob storage daily, so they are available over a long-term period of time. We can also, from this console, have a look at the users, what they're currently doing. It's a very similar display to the graphical display we saw earlier. We can get a directory listing, we can get a process list, and down here you can see the Explorer EXE, which is the application server. And here you have the memory utilization of it. From here we can issue a number of commands that allow us to create, copy, databases, etc. For example, here we can simply request the CPU utilization per second over the last 10 seconds. And there we have it. And that is a very quick run-through of the Softone Azure control room to give you a feeling for what and how Softone operates in terms of running its application services. Thank you very much.